Hey everybody, so it's time for me to wrap up my January reading. I read some amazing books for you to hear all about in this video. I cannot wait to tell you about them. I read one book that I had a lot of feelings on that I am going to mention in this video, and I can't wait to make your TBR explode. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course, I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. I am just getting off a visit from my parents. They came in for a long weekend. We have been entertaining them in the Bay Area, and luckily enough, the weather was really nice while they were here, and today, they left this morning, the weather has decided to change, so I apologize if the video is a little bit dark today. There is not much light outside right now, and trying to create that light in here is always a bit difficult for me. But I am here to tell you about a ton of amazing books. So let's get started. Get out that pen, get out that paper, get out that Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore, or if you are a library user, get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. Let's take a moment before we start talking about books to recognize how cute my new sweatshirt is. My mom bought it for me while she was here, and it's from a little store in Santa Cruz, California, and I am obsessed. I think it's adorable. Okay, so let's start off with a book I'm actually not going to say a lot about because my friend Ryan from Read by Ryan and I already did an entire video on this, so I will link that video down below, and that is Verity by Colleen Hoover, out from Grand Central. Good on Grand Central, good on Colleen Hoover. Most best-selling author of 2022. I think 6 of her books were in the top 10 bestsellers of last year. Totally appreciate everything she has going for her. Had a lot of thoughts on this book though. So please watch. I know it's a little bit long, the video of Ryan and I talking about Verity, but we just dissect it in all shapes and forms. So please check that video out. Okay, so I'm going to start, and I think this is how I'm going to do my reading wrap-ups for the year, with my favorite read of January. So you can just sort of know which book, and a lot of these books are actually very good, but this book sort of was the cream of the crop, if you will. And that is Chain Gang All-Stars by Kwame, Adjei-Brenyah, out from Pantheon Books in April of this year. I have talked about this book a little bit on my channel before. This is a satire look at the for-profit prison system. Basically what we have is a system's been set up that if you are in a jail, you can choose to enter this program where you basically become a gladiator and fight to the death. And if you reach a certain amount of wins, you actually will win your freedom. Okay. And we have 2 main characters, really, in my opinion, in this book, and that's Thurwar, T-H-U-R-W-A-R. So I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. We meet her very beginning of the book. She wins a fight that she shouldn't win, and then she sort of becomes a symbol for the system, and she just becomes like this massive presence in the whole United States, sort of enveloping what maybe that's not the right word. Sort of, she is the ideal idea of what this prison system should be. She is the head person of this chain gang, which the idea of the chain gang being brought in and sort of manipulated as a group of people who are working together only in that they are collectively killing other people to stay alive, and they move around the United States together from battle to battle. And the prior leader was murdered, and we find out very soon, likely by one of the people on the chain gang with her, and that sort of is part of the development of the story. There is another woman on the chain gang with her. Her name is Stax, S-T-A-X-X, who is also sort of like revolutionizing The whole system, people are huge fans of hers, and she is obsessive. And these two women have a relationship, and it continues to develop as the book goes on. I don't really want to dive too much into what goes on, because I think the book does a brilliant job of taking a bunch of pieces and putting them together for an overall vision. But what is done is that we look at this system from many different angles, from the people within it, from the people working within the system, from the people who are protesting, feel like this should not be going on. They feel like it's violent. They feel like it is something that needs to be stopped. And then you have also the view of like the super fans. The people are totally into the grisly grossness of it all. I'm talking about this book a lot because it is phenomenal. Because what I will say now is, in the end, all of that, it is violent, it is angry, it is really real, if that makes sense. But at its core, Chain Gang All-Stars is a love story. And I think that, to me, was the most eye-opening, brilliant thing done by the author, is to take you on a journey that you think is going one way, and at the end of the book, you have to reevaluate the entire reading experience. I thought it was brilliant. I hope it wins all awards. And that's Chain Gang All-Stars by Kwame, Adjei-Brenyah. This comes out from Pantheon Books in April 2023. Okay. The next book was a close second, a book I absolutely adored. Actually, I liked a lot of books this month. And that's In Memoriam by Wynn. This comes out in March from Knopf. You can get your hands on it. It is historical fiction set around the time of the start of World War I. I'll get into that. What it is it starts at a boarding school, an all-boys boarding school, where they are dealing with the fact a number of their student body have gone off to war and have not returned. So they are continuously reading about these deaths. We have two main characters, Gaunt, who is half German and is sort of convinced is the wrong word, pressured by his family to join the military early, because they're getting a lot of pressure for being partially, a half German household. And they want him to sort of prove their loyalty, right? So he goes to war, the front. I believe he goes to Belgium, fights in France. And this trench war for this gas warfare, watching people die, watching all of this horror, starts to change Gaunt. And what we learn very early on is that Gaunt and Elwood, who are our two main characters, two boys at this boarding school, are infatuated with one another. They would both like more from their relationship, but both feel as if the other is not that interested. So Gaunt goes to war, writing to Elwood. They're continuing this. Elwood is sort of openly homosexual. He's had relationships and continues to have relationships with other people at the school. But Gaunt tells him, do not come. Do not come to the front. You do not want to be here. He doesn't want Elwood to be poisoned by war. Well, Elwood takes that as he needs me. And he enlists early and he goes to the front. And this book then becomes a discussion of what war does to these two young boys. Now, at the beginning of the book, I think they're like 17. That's when they enlist, and then they're 19 at the end. So they are no more than children. And it is the effects that war has on them, who they are, and their relationship. They go through some terrible stuff. I'm just telling you right now, this is not a PG book. Definitely some of the horrors of war just are there. But in the end, it's like this story of these two men who do find in each other some sense of hope. What I do love, what I said I was going to talk about it later, is when you do a book set in a world war, you have to be very careful that the world war doesn't become the overwhelming presence and you forget about the characters. And that is what Wynn does amazing here. World War I is always present. It is always there. You are never going to forget about it. But its presence does not take away from the relationships and the people in this book. There are some side characters, and I'm not going to give anything away, but that I will remember because they are as well drawn as Gaunt and Elwood are, and it's just so good. It is very, very good. Tears, tears, tears. So In Memoriam by Wynn, out from Knopf in March of 2023. Hopefully I did a good enough job selling all of that. This book is coming out this month, or just came out. I don't know exactly if it has hit the shelves yet. Let me see if I have a date. It just says it comes out in February 2023. I don't know if it has made it there yet. But this is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This is out from Harper here in the US. I know it's already been out for a bit. I'm sorry, my lighting is terrible on this cover. In the UK already. Everyone, I mean, Natalie Haynes is a master of the retelling of the Greek myth. And this is a retelling of the idea of the story of Medusa. What she does is she takes Medusa, who really, if you think about what we're taught about her, the woman who turns people into stone, we know what Perseus winds up doing with her. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't love Greek mythology as much as I do, but Perseus, not a great guy. And she it's all of that out and turns this into more of a story of family and pressures and punishments. And it's a really interesting also takedown of sort of religion ideology. It is really very, very good. It is a page turner in a lot of ways. You will just want to know what's going to happen next, but also it's much deeper than that. I really, really loved it. So let me see if I can get a good, sorry, gosh, it's just this cover. Natalie Haynes's Stone Blind, out from Harper. It comes out this month in February of 2023 here in the United States. Okay, 3 more books that I read. This is a teeny tiny itty bitty book, and it actually came out last year. And this is Marigold and Rose by Louise Gluck. And she won the Nobel Prize in Literature. I think she's originally, I know, she's a poet. And I think this is her first book. That's what I wanted to say. And it is a tiny book. I think it's like 60 pages. It is basically nothing. But the language and the beauty of the writing, OMG. The story of a set of twins born to very, very different girls, twins, and basically you're in their heads as they grow up and they look around the world and they sort of come to terms and are developing who they are. And it's all done sort of subconsciously. So these young women, the young girls, are sort of way more intellectual than you would expect, but we have no idea what goes on in the heads of young children. I don't know. It was so weird, but so beautiful and so well told. I mean, it's not long, but it's one of those books that you'll read something and you'll go back and read it again just to see what she's doing with the language. So I absolutely loved it. I do wish it was a little longer. I could have used a little bit more to it, but I absolutely thought it was beautiful. And that's Marigold and Rose by Louise Gluck. This is out from FSG, and it came out in, I think, October of last year. So you can get your hands on it right now. Super, super good. Okay, so I have talked about this book in a video when I did a video of like sophomore novels that were coming out that I was really, really excited about. And I have now read 2 of the 3 in that video. The third one is like 900 pages, so I'm struggling getting to that one and giving it its time. But I have loved 2 of those 3. And the next book is Decent People by Deshaun Charles Winslow. This is out from Bloomsbury. This came out in January. Bloomsbury came out in January. That was a sentence. Deshaun Charles Winslow wrote In West Mills, which was his debut novel, which I absolutely adored when it came out. What he has done is he has created his own town, which, you know, the best authors do, in North Carolina. In the first book, we learn about a certain set of characters in that world. I highly recommend you read it. And in this book, we're introduced to some of the same characters, but also new people. This book starts with Jo, I believe is her name. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, Josephine Wright. I think she goes by Jo. She has returned to West Mills. This is where she's decided to retire after a life in New York. She is visiting her brother. She comes home, and the man that she's engaged to has been told and is thought to be the main suspect in the triple murder of his half-siblings. So he has 3 siblings. They were murdered in their house, and he has been dealing with the fact that the town seems to believe that he's the one who could have murdered them because of a conversation he had with some people at a gas station. and the sort of known knowledge that he did not have the best of relationship with them once their father had passed. Okay, but Jo gets home and she's like, no, I know that my fiance did not do this. So she starts to investigate. The police have decided to sort of wash this under. They sort of are not really looking in it. So she's going to be the one. And then she starts to pick at all of these different leads, and we meet all of these different characters, and this story of these three family members and sort of everything that they've been involved in the town, and all of these town secrets come out. It's almost like, and I mean this in the best way, it's like a serial drama where every chapter introduces you to almost an aha moment where you're like, oh, okay, well, now it's this. Oh, no, now it's this. You will not... I, at the end of this, had two ideas of who the murderer was going to be. And I was right, but it was because Deshaun Charles Winslow gives you so many clues that you can start to put your own ideas together as he develops an entire community, an entire town of people. He talks about race. He talks about religion. He talks about money. He talks about, what's the words I'm looking for? Like passed down wealth, generational wealth, the lack of generational wealth in general in the Black community, and how that changed with this family, and also, you know, poverty, not from only one angle, but from many different perspectives. Drug addiction. It does so much in such a thin book, and it is a page-turner thriller mystery to solve. It is so good. So please read Decent People by Deshaun Charles Winslow, out from Bloomsbury. It's already out. You can get your hands on it. Please get both of his books and put them on your shelf because they are both phenomenal. And I've got to figure out, by the way, who I lent my copy of In West Mills to, because I cannot find it. And I am not happy about it. But that happens when you're a bookish person. I have been talking about these books for some time. I have one more left, so hopefully you're enjoying this journey, because this last book is not to be missed either. So this was the first book I read in 2023, and that's Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. This is out from FSG, and it comes out on March 21st. This book is a trip. So it's set in an alternate sort of United States history where an event has occurred and the North, the South, and the West have separated. And there's basically like a wall, almost like a Berlin Wall between the North and the South. It is finally starting to come down. But the South sort of went super religious, anti-technology, anti-knowledge, and the North sort of stayed the North. And then the West, we don't learn a whole lot about. It could be a whole another book, to be honest with you. But this is really the story of a woman whose wife, X, has died. She has died. And the main character has decided to write a biography of this woman that she was married to. Really, it starts because of a response to a book that is written about her, about X, by someone else that she has major issues with. But as she starts to investigate X and where she comes from, she starts to learn how little she knows about her wife, or knew about her wife and her history. And she starts to develop it. And so it's written like an autobiography. It's written, a biography. It's written in this sort of tone, like this woman who's almost like a memoir. And it has like pictures that she finds and articles that she pulls in about what's happened and where sort of these different political issues, art, books. Now, X has done so much in her life, and she's sort of like a woman who is artistic in so many different ways, but you find out as the main character, I can't remember her name, CM, I believe is what she goes by in the book, as she starts to learn about her wife's real history, it starts to explain sort of the flighty nature of X, like how she sort of goes from thing to thing to thing. And as she learns more and more about her wife, she starts to sort of realize things about herself. I hope I did an okay job of selling that. This book is complicated in its sort of nature because you are piecing together all of this, but it's also discussing art and literature and society and all of this stuff. That was a weird way to say society. At like a next level. So it's like sort of philosophical, at times poetic, at times it's page turning because it's just like this thriller aspect. I found it so good and I didn't really know what to expect. It was not what I expected and I enjoyed it very, very much. So that's Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. This is out from FSG on March 21st, 2022. Okay, let's see if I can lift all of these books up. So, oh, I'm dropping stuff on my lap, y'all. Hopefully I did an okay job of selling all of these books to you guys. I hope that you want to read all of them because they were all very, very good. Well, maybe not Verity. Maybe I don't recommend Verity. But all the rest, I think you should get your hands on as soon as possible. As always, if you are a return subscriber, I could not do this without you. I really, really appreciate it. If you are new to my channel, I hope you like what you saw, and I hope you come back for some more videos. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everybody.